Today's video is sponsored by Into the AM.
They say all good things must come to an end, and we have reached the end of the finish line. What's going on to all my Only Murder fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Today we are breaking down the Season 2 finale, Episode 10, which was titled, I Know Who Did It. I now know who did it. You now know who did it, but the question at hand, did it all make sense? Was it a satisfying conclusion to the story? Well, we'll be discussing that and so much more in today's spoiler review. But before we get into today's breakdown, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I want to welcome you to the community. If you enjoy early movie reviews, daily and weekly TV breakdowns like we're doing today, as well as live streams, we'll consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. If you all enjoyed today's video, I want to, I put out a challenge last week of 200 likes, and y'all crushed that within a day, and I appreciate you. Let's put out a new challenge for this video. Let's get this to, can we do 400 likes? Can we get this to 400 plus likes? And also, if you can, hit that share button to anyone and everyone you know that enjoys this show just as much as we do. But more importantly, I want to know your thoughts. That's right, you right there watching this video. What did you think about the finale? Did you like the conclusion? Did you like the reveal? Did it work? Was it surprising? Were you disappointed? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the finale as a whole, the season as a whole. Which season was better? Season 1, Season 2? Which case was more intriguing? Who killed Tim? Who killed Zoe? What happened to Rose Cooper? Who killed Bunny? Let's talk about that. And of course, talking about killing, who killed Ben, and what do you all hope to get in Season 3? Let's talk about it in the comments below. So before we get into this fun spoiler breakdown, I gotta take the time to thank every single one of you all for the support. Starting off with my OGs. I'm talking about the ones that's watched Episode 1, Season 1 of this show, all the way to the finale, came back and watched all the reviews for Season 2. It means the world to me. And also, shout out to the newcomers, someone that watched my video for the first time today or last week. It means a lot because I say this when I wrap up a lot of my recap shows. There's so much content out there, but more importantly, there are so many great content creators that do a great job of covering movies and shows and covers this show, and they do just a phenomenal job of doing so. So the fact that you all click my video, watch the video, like it, share it, comment, it means the world to me, and I really appreciate you. And yes, this is bittersweet. We're wrapping up this show. We'll be back for Season 3, and I'll also be covering other shows and movies that I'll talk about at the end of this video. But again, from me to you, I really appreciate you all. So with that being said, let's get into this breakdown. Full spoilers ahead as we open this week's episode with, more importantly, getting to know Becky Butler. Now let's talk a little bit about Becky here. As we see, she has a life as a secretary for the mayor. She's also a neglected daughter, but more importantly, she's a fan of Cinda's podcast. Now I'm thinking to myself, Elliot, are we looking at Becky, aka Poppy? Is she kind of in this kind of Gone Girl situation where she's creating this kind of scenario that she's gone missing? Well, let's talk about it, because she's sitting there Googling how to disappear. As we see, the news declares Becky is missing, and in comes Poppy as we see her paying a visit to Cinda with the idea of a missing girl from Oklahoma. Now we see Poppy's story has become Cinda's new idea for the podcast. Now we transition from that moment to seeing that Cinda, in this whole 15 minutes of fame thing, is kind of running up really quickly because our crew has developed their podcast of Who Killed Tim. So now we're seeing Poppy coming up with another idea like, listen, Cinda, maybe you should research of this Rose Cooper individual who's gone missing. Cinda's like, no, I don't want to hear that. That sounds like farce to me. I will do whatever it takes to find my next podcast. So as the audience, and that's the scene, let me go ahead and get my kind of Southern accent out of my system. I apologize to anyone that has a Southern accent. I was just having fun a fun time with you all. But anyway, going back to Cinda, we as an audience are starting to believe like, okay, she really is like craving for fame. She really would do anything to get this podcast off the ground. That's what we think. But I'll remind you all, there's something more to Poppy. There is, as we'll talk about her a little bit later, but I feel like there is something that Poppy's hiding. Everyone has a secret, and I have my eye on Poppy. I've had my eyes on Poppy for a very long time. Let's get back into the breakdown here as we head back to our crew, and they don't believe that Cinda is behind it all. But as we see, Oliver says to the crew, don't blame the player, blame the game, brother. There was so many funny moments in this episode. But as we see them coming up with this idea of how can we get a confession out of Cinda? How do we go about doing this? This is where they get Poppy into the situation and they try to get ideas from her, how they're going to get her to confess. And this was kind of funny as well when Poppy is telling them these ridiculous fears that Cinda has. Like, for example, she's afraid of tomatoes, and also she doesn't like people or things in slow motion, which we'll talk about that callback a little bit later. But it's in this moment that Mabel believes she knows what 14 Savage means, which we'll talk about that connection a little bit later in the breakdown. But getting back into this killer party that they're setting up, we see that the board is present. They all are gathering at Bunny's house to have this killer reveal. We see that they have an hour to set up this live stream to reveal who the actual killer is. And now, I'm not gonna lie, it was meant to be over the top, right? They were all kind of playing a character, but it was just kind of like, I'll be honest with you all, the first like 10 minutes of the episode, I'm like, it's not that good so far. But then things start to kind of settle in, and now we get into the real fun and kind of entertainment aspects of the episode. As we see Charles and Oliver going back to that slow motion callback, they are talking to Cinda in a very slow motion manner, which again to me was very hilarious. They have the tomatoes trying to get her uncomfortable, and this is where again this is all a part of a ruse. As we see Mabel, she comes in and she talks about the son of the Sam card, and she's trying to make Alice seems like she's the killer. She has the son of Adam card, which that wasn't part of the act. She did take the card. She was the killer in that game they played several weeks ago. So again, I assume that Kara will be involved in season 3. I still believe there's something to be said about her character. I know it's a red herring, but she did take that card, and she does have some mystery about her family that I still think will be revealed in a season 3. As I digress, the act is going on. Alice attempts to stab Mabel. We see Charles, which again, I'll be honest with you all, I was kind of buying into it. I thought that Charles was dead. When she stabbed him and he fell over and then they put a blanket over my man, I'm like, yo, I know a couple weeks ago, I don't know if you all saw this, but Steve Martin came out and said that after they wrap up this show, which I hope this show can go on as long as they can be as creative as possible, but he's saying that he's going to probably retire pretty soon. So I'm like, oh, he's going to retire now. Like, this is the last time we're going to see Charles. But I was wrong because, again, it was all a play. Getting back into the breakdown here, Poppy has had enough of Cinda, where we see Poppy is upset. She's jealous because Cinda's saying to Mabel, man, you're really good at this. Maybe you should start your own podcast, which makes Cinda jealous because Hutju, we remember the killer. Lucy saw them sneezing. Again, I thought it was Howard's boyfriend, Jonathan, with him sneezing. Again, it was a red herring. It was all misdirect. But she's sneezing. Everyone is starting to kind of take off their masks, dropping their accents and all that stuff there. But everyone is letting them know it was all part of an act. Even Cinda herself was involved in this ruse to reveal the killer, which is the one and only Poppy, a.k.a. Becky Butler. Now let's talk about doesn't make sense here, because we go back into the scene here and we see that the 14 Savage was actually referring to 14 sandwiches. We saw that Poppy was ordering the food from the diner. She was the one that met, our character Bunny, who died, in episode 1. And we see that we have the big reveal that her whole situation was she killed an innocent woman because she wanted to impress Cinda. She wanted to get her podcast off the ground and make her famous. Like, we'll talk about it at the end, but I'm going to be honest with you all. That is kind of very underwhelming if you ask me. We'll get into my thoughts a little bit later, but again, her whole motive is that she wanted to do it for Cinda. Now, we get some other reveals here as we go to seeing that Cripps, he was in love with not Cinda, but Poppy, aka Becky, as the case has been solved. We wrap up the episode with Charles getting a bigger role on his show. He's going to go on a date now with Joy, which gets me happy because I've said to myself, that's a good fit for you, Charles. So that's going to be great to kind of see their relationship. Getting back into it, we see that Mabel is finally renovating her unit. Where is her aunt? When is she going to come home? Season 3, they're going to probably cast someone pretty big for that role. I don't know, Meryl Streep. That would be pretty cool. But anyway, it seems like her and Alice might be back on good terms. But here is the big moment as we kind of, again, wrapping up the episode. William knew that the DNA test was negative and that Oliver wasn't his biological dad, but he was a father to him. And I kind of got it. I like that moment. That was a good kind of moment because, again, we talked about it for weeks. The theme and the kind of underlying foundation of the season was fatherhood and what it takes to be a father. So I kind of like that reveal there. But we have another big moment here. Let's talk about it. As we see Oliver gets a chance to be a director again in Broadway, and we get this year-long kind of flash forward, and we'll talk about what happened in that year from the end of this episode to where we are now. We'll get to that here in a second, but we flash forward this year, and we see the star of this play is the one and only Paul Rudd, who I'm such a big fan of. Ant-Man himself. As we see Charles tells Paul Rudd's character, who goes by the name of Ben, good luck. And there seems to be a lot of tension between these two characters. And also, pay attention to what Charles is saying to Ben as he tells him that you need to stay away from her. And I know what you did, Ben. What the heck are you talking about, Charles? I digress, because we'll put a pin in that and go back to those comments here in a second. But as we see Paul Rudd, or Ben, going on stage to break a leg, he's starting to let out his lines. Also, too, we see that Mabel, she's not there with Alice. So again, are they still on good terms? Are they dating? Is she single? We see that Lucy's there and Joy's there. And again, Ben's on stage. Oliver's about to watch the play that he's been working on for the past year. He starts to say his lines. Something's off. Something's going on. He's starting to choke up. He goes on his knees. He passes out. First person on stage is the same person that Ben has beef with, which is our one and only Charles. He says he's not breathing, he's not moving. We see blood coming out of his mouth. We also learned that it's been an entire year that it has been no murders until this moment. Who killed Ben? Now, we're going to get into that here in a second. But just overall thoughts on the finale. Again, the first 10 minutes or so were just a little bit, and they even addressed it like, this doesn't feel like a finale. It didn't really feel like a finale to me for the first 10 minutes. But then again, let's talk about the reveal. To say that Poppy, or Becky Butler, she killed Bunny, and the only reason she did that was to kind of get the credit she thought she deserved because she was a neglected daughter. Obviously the mayor was, probably misogynistic and probably being very inappropriate towards her. So I get the animosity and the kind of I want to be, famous type of aspect of it all, but it really didn't work for me. And if I'm being honest, it was kind of lazy writing in my personal opinion. Her motives don't seem that impactful to me. For her to, again, just for attention, you're going to kill someone like that makes no sense to me. And then again, the Crips angle works because he was vulnerable. Again, he wanted attention, he wanted love and all that stuff. So I can kind of get how he was able to get swindled into this situation. But again, I'll be honest with you all, the Poppy's the killer. Now, hey, go back to the reviews. I'll play it on the screen now. Poppy. There is, as we'll talk about her a little bit later, but I feel like there is something that Poppy. I called out the whole Poppy being I had my eye on her for a very long time, and it came to be that it was Poppy ultimately. And again, not to pat myself on the back, but I called that, and I called Jen, Jan in season 1. So I don't know, maybe I should write season 3. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, man, I'll be honest with you all. I don't know how I feel about. Well, I'll be honest. I don't like it. I don't like the reveal of Poppy being the killer, and her whole motives just didn't add up. It didn't make it makes sense on paper, but it just didn't feel as impactful as season 1, which we'll talk about here. But before we get into my thoughts on which season was better and all that stuff and my thoughts on season 3, let's take a moment to thank the sponsor in this video, Into the AM.
Today's video is sponsored by Into the AM. Into the AM is a clothing company with a variety of amazing products such as t-shirts, hoodies, jackets, shorts and underwear, headwear, and much more. Their t-shirts have unique designs, they're incredibly soft and extremely comfortable, and they're made to last. But the best part is, you can get 10% off by using my discount code MovieFiles when you're selecting your new gear, which you can find that code in the description below. So shout out to the incredible sponsors, Into the AM. I love their shirts. I love all their apparel. If you all want to get some of this cool swagger, check out the link in my bio, get some discounts, and get yourself geared up with Into the AM. So going back to it again, not a fan of that reveal. Let me know how you all feel about that. But then takeaways from season 2. Overall, I will say that I love that we dove deeper into these incredible characters, Mabel, Charles, and Oliver, and I think the chemistry between those three are just so fantastic. They just have so much good screen presence. They have great chemistry. I love that. Also love that we dove deeper into their past. You know, the whole theme. I talked about it every single week. Fathers was such a big theme. Mabel losing her dad, Charles and his dad's relationship, him not really being there, in and out of jail, the affairs that he learned about with Rose Cooper, and then of course, you know, Oliver and him not having a good relationship with his father, but also how that parallels to him wanting to be the best father he can be for a child that's not even his. So I did enjoy all those elements, and I think the reason I enjoyed that is because ultimately, when you look at the Rose Cooper reveal, a little underwhelming with that, if I'm being honest, and then also the Poppy reveal. I think the writers intentionally, or not intentionally, but I think they knew that the murder mystery wasn't the big hook of this season like it was in season 1. They really wanted to dive, like they focused more on the characters in this season. And I think that's why, for me at least, it feels underwhelming, because the character stuff, the development there, that stuff was so rich and so strong and so intriguing and so entertaining. But the mystery of it all, of course, we were here every single week. Like, who did it? How did they do it? Why did they do it? But then when you get the results, it's like, that's underwhelming. And I think the writers kind of figured that to be the case. Like, our mystery's not as juicy as before, but we're going to really kind of focus on the character. So let me know how you all feel about that as far as my takeaways from this second season. And also, as far as our new characters, Michael Rappaport as Cripps, he was probably the highlight out of the new cast members. Alice Cardella Devine, I talked about in episode 1. I'm not the biggest fan of her as an actress, but she was okay in this season. I anticipate more of her in season 3. What's the deal with her and her family, if she even comes back? We'll see what happens with that. But talk about coming back. Why did they choose Amy Schumer to be in this show? Like, she literally was so pointless. Again, it was a cameo, essentially what it was, but I don't know. I didn't really... y'all know how I feel about Amy Schumer. I don't know if I heard her be that funny, but I'm happy that she wasn't too heavily involved in this season. But let me know what you all think about all that. But going into the story in the murder mystery, season 1 versus season 2, for me personally, season 1 is like so far ahead as far as the mystery, the murder case, the intrigue, the entertainment to me was just a little bit more, well, I won't say the entertainment, but the murder mystery was more intriguing for me personally. Who killed Tim? How does that tie into Zoe? You know, Teddy and what's going on with Theo, which we didn't really get a conclusion with them, how are they going to play into season 3. But season 1 to me was a better murder mystery. Season 2 was a better character in-depth study of the characters, if you guys kind of know what I'm saying there. So let me know, again, your thoughts on all that. Wrapping it all up again, I quoted season 1 being ultimately better season. Let me know how you guys feel about that. But thoughts on a season 3, which they've already announced, and they actually are shooting season 3 as I'm recording this video, and hopefully it'll be out probably around this time next year. Question at hand: who killed Paul Rudd's character, Ben, and who is all involved? Right now, I hate to say it, but our prime suspect looks like Charles. Again, the I know what you did and the tension they had, you need to stay away from her. Is her his new girlfriend? Joy? Is her Lucy? Is her Mabel? Like, who is this her individual that he was referring to? And again, why was there so much beef between them? And what happened in that year that we didn't see on screen? So I wonder if it's going to be a bunch of flashbacks in season 3 to kind of catch us up to, okay, Ben, which gets me excited because that probably means Paul Rudd is going to be in season 3 if we go back into those flashbacks and seeing him getting the role and doing all that stuff, and this beef between him and Charles, and obviously Oliver hiring him. So Paul Rudd season 3, that's exciting if that tends to be the case. But he seemed to be poisoned. Who poisoned him? Who is this girl? And what happened in that year that we didn't see on screen? Again, Teddy and Theo, Jan, how are they going to play in the season 3? So that's my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Overall, the finale was
satisfying, not fulfilling, if you all can kind of understand what I'm saying there. The season as a whole was a great character, great entertainment stuff that we got there, great chemistry on our main cast. The mystery wasn't as intriguing, wasn't as satisfying as season 1, but overall, I'm still a huge fan of this show. I cannot wait for season 3. But again, I want to thank you all for supporting these videos, watching these videos. I will be covering other shows. For example, we're covering She-Hulk every single Thursday. We will be covering House of the Dragons. There's a new Mike Tyson show that I'm going to be watching here and probably giving you all recaps on. There's a new Steve Carell murder mystery coming on Hulu. I can't think of the name of it. I'm going to put it on the screen now. So, and of course, all the movies that I cover too. So, yes, this is the end of this chapter, but I have many more chapters in my book of the book of this. Is called Movie Files. Very corny there, but I say all that to say, stick around, check out my other content. Again, check out the sponsor in this video. If you stuck around to this point in the video, let's go ahead and play a game in the comments. Put an emoji, put a heart emoji, and it's just love. We got love all across this channel, all across this community. So if you're at this point in the video, put a heart, put a purple heart in the comments below. So again, from me to you, I appreciate you. Before you leave this video, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, check out my other content, check out my Instagram, my TikTok, my Twitter, and of course, all the other content I have for you all. Again, hope you're staying safe. Hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Come and join the community. Check out my other reviews for Only Murders in the Building. Check out my most recent review, and we'll catch you all on the next breakdown.
Yeah.